In this video, I'm going to teach you a long men's haircut. You're also going to learn the best technique to keep your guide and not lose it as it travels around the head. As well, I'm also going to show you a great tip for point cutting.
We're going to start the haircut right at the front hairline. We're going to take vertical sections and we're going to hold them straight out from the head. So we're not going to hold them down or up. We don't want to hold them on an angle because that's going to create a rounded shape. We want to keep things straight up and down. I'm pulling the hair straight out from where it grows and I'm going to cut on the inside of my hand. Keep in mind from the other videos that I don't want to cut past my knuckle because I want to keep my tension there. So I'm going to regrip that hair and I'm going to cut. I'm going to regrip. And I'm going to cut. That's the guide for my haircut. So this guide is going to travel throughout the haircut. So I'm going to take my next section and that piece that I just cut, I'm going to take it to that section to cut. So you'll notice my elbow is way up in the air. I don't want to have my elbow down here because I'm going to end up holding the hair wrong. I'm going to lose that nice square shape. So I'm coming straight out from the head, cutting on the inside of my hand. Okay, so now I'm going to keep traveling. So I'm going to take that piece that I just cut with me and I'm going to take my next section. So I'm pulling this piece straight out from where it grows. And I'll take that piece with me and leave the rest behind. Okay, so once I get to just behind the ear, I like to double check my work and make sure that I'm not getting any longer or any shorter. So my line looks pretty straight, that's what I want. It doesn't need to have a real straight edge here because I cut it vertically, so it should have a bit of a softer edge, and it does. So what I'm looking for is to make sure that I don't have a line like this. I want to make sure that my line is nice and straight, that I'm not getting shorter and I'm not getting longer, and I'm good. So I'm going to continue on. So when we get behind the ear, there's a little bit more hair to cut because the hair now extends right down to that hairline at the nape. That's okay, you're going to keep the exact same system that you were doing. So now we're right behind the ear and I'm going to continue doing the exact same thing. Now, make sure that you can still see your guide. So if you can't see your guide, don't cut until you can. Here's my guide, cutting straight out. You'll notice I'm going to be getting a little bit longer through this back part because I'm keeping my line straight up and down. I'm not turning in towards the head. I'm keeping a nice square line. Bring the guide to the hair. Whenever your guide is traveling, it's your guide that moves to the piece of hair that you're cutting, not the piece of hair that you're cutting back to the guide. If you bring the hair back to the guide, you're going to end up getting a little bit longer, but by taking the guide to the hair, you're going to make sure that you're the same every time. Don't let your fingers fall. It's so easy just to kind of drop them down because you get tired. By doing this, you're going to end up with a shape that you don't want. You really want to keep your line straight up and down because it's going to give you that nice square look. So now I'm going to just do another check. So I'm right here on the round of the head. And it looks great. So do you know that there's numbers on your comb? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can tell you exactly what an inch is, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4, 5, and 6 inches. I can hold my comb and I can see exactly what length that I'm at. And it's a great way to check your work. We're gonna keep going. So we're gonna take the guide to the hair. I'm keeping my lines straight up and down. Now there's two ways that you can do this. Some people like to start from the front and move to the center, and then they'll start on this side and go from the front into the center. And other people just go all the way around the head. So they start on one side and they keep moving all the way around. Either way you do this, you're gonna have to check to make sure that you're the same on both sides. I just like going all the way around the head, and I just do my checks in between. So I just pick up the hair, make sure that I'm still the same length, and I keep on going. If you would rather start on the other side and come around, that's perfectly fine. This is just the way that I like to do it. You should be able to start seeing this shape that's forming. So there's nothing round happening. It's very much square. There's no beveling of the lines. I'm not doing any diagonal lines to create any softness. I'm really just trying to keep that box. A question I've been asked is, why is my mannequin or why is my client shorter here than they are down here? Here's why. If you want to look at the hairline here is up here. The hairline here is way down here. So if I cut to 4 inches here and I cut to 4 inches here, this hair is only going to reach to the top of the ear, where this hair is going to reach down to the nape. So it's just a matter of where the hairline is. That's it. If ever you notice, oh my goodness, I got a little shorter here. Oh, I got a little longer here. Don't worry about it. If that does happen, all you need to do is adjust. So maybe you do have to take a little bit more off of that last section. Just go back and cut a little bit more off. If you get shorter, again, not a huge deal. All you need to do is over direct the next section so that it matches. So just make sure that you measure that next section so that it's 4 inches so you know exactly where you're at. While I continue cutting, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Coming through these side sections is often where you can tend to get a little longer or a little bit shorter. This is where the most change in the head happens. It's going to be right in these two corners. So if I'm going to get longer or shorter, it's going to be there. So we have to take extra precaution in this section and always check after you cut that section to make sure, because if you did get longer through here and you carried that through, you're going to end up longer on one side. And same thing if you got shorter through there, you're going to end up shorter in the front. And then you have to do the whole haircut all over again. You don't want to do that. So check it section by section and it will keep you grounded. If you're having any trouble holding your scissors and your comb, just check out in the description. I have a video on that. So right there, I just have one little corner. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to grab it. See, it's right there. I tell my students it's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn. The key is recognizing when you have made a mistake and then being able to fix your mistake. That's what's going to make you a fantastic hairdresser. You'll notice too, my body has to keep on moving. I take little steps with every section that I take, and that keeps me right in front of the section that I'm cutting. I never want to be pulling hair away from me or toward me. I want to just be pulling it straight out from the head. We have the whole bottom half of the head done. So now we're going to take out our clips and we're going to work on the top. So in this crown area, I'm going to take a section straight across. I'm going to pull it up. Now I know that I'm around 4 inches and that's what I'd like them to be on the top as well. So I'm just going to use my comb and I'm going to cut them to 4 inches. Remember to re-grip so you have good tension. So I'm going to travel. So I'm going to take my next slice of hair. Now you'll notice I'm not getting all of this section. That's okay. We're going to blend that at the end. So just keep going across here with me. So we're going to pull this straight up. I can see my guide and I'm going to cut. I can see my guide. You see that? When you see your guide, you know where you're going to cut. And you're going to cut right to that guide. And I keep re-gripping it so that the hair that I cut is always between my knuckle and the end of my finger. Remember, it's always important not to cut past that first knuckle. If you do, you're going to lose your tension and you'll be saying, why is my hair longer on this side than the other side? You cut past your knuckle. Having nice clean sections is also really important. If you're pulling hair from every direction, you're going to lose where you are in the hair. As you get moving up further in the head, it's sometimes a good idea just to double check and make sure you're still at 4. So still be at that length that you want to be. I've mentioned before, there are probably hundreds of ways to do this exact same haircut. This is the way that I do it, but there are lots of other ways. And as time goes on, I will show you some additional ways that you can do this. But this is pretty basic. So that top section now is done. So to check it, whenever you cut horizontally, you always want to check it vertically. So just like we did in the back, we cut it vertically, so I checked it horizontally. If you're not sure about your lines, there's also a video in the description about that as well. So we're just going to hold that up and make sure that we have a good line. I didn't get longer, I didn't get shorter, it's good. So now what I like to do, I divide this guy in half. Now the trick is, we do not want to have this round shape. So I want to make sure that I keep my lines really square. Now I'm going to take my top, I'm going to take my bottom, and I'm going to make sure that they connect. So I'm going to go through again, taking vertical lines. So now I call it finger gymnastics. I find my short piece on the top, and I find my short piece in that bottom section. I pull it straight out. I don't want to cut my top piece, and I don't want to cut my bottom piece. I simply want to connect the two together. And that's going to keep everything, you have a nice streamline right through. So I'm going to take some of that with me. I'm going to grab another section, and I'm going to come straight up and down, straight up and down. So you never want to cut your guide, you just want to cut to your guide. This is a really good haircut to practice, even if you just want to work on precision with your lines. So you're really making sure that you're keeping everything really square, really straight. You're working on connecting. There's lots of really good foundational principles in this haircut. So even to take out a mannequin just to practice, it's a great idea. I always like to go down a little bit further than what I think I'm supposed to cut. You just never know. You never want to miss a piece and then get to the end of the haircut and be like, oh shoot, there's a big long piece hanging out there. So I know that I'm at the end, but sometimes I just like to re-grip it just in case there might be one little straggly there. Sometimes when you're rushing, you can tend to get greedy, take bigger sections, over direct. This is a big no-no because your haircut really does need to be structured. When you're cutting, you're always going to be behind your section or to the left of your section if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, you can be on the right of your section. So I had finished the back, so we're gonna continue on this way. It's important to have a system as well when you're cutting. If you're gonna do a haircut, do it the same every time. Sometimes we can get lost, the phone rings, get distracted. You always want to make sure you know exactly where you're at. I found being out in the industry after years, you can pick up some bad habits, and that's not always a good thing. Just getting back to those basics is really important. So standing positions, the way you're holding the hair, your finger angles, all of those things are going to make you better. Once you finish the interior of the haircut, then you just need to polish up your perimeter or that outside line. The outside line, I just usually take everything because this is all layered. There's nothing there that's gonna, like these layers here aren't even gonna reach the front. So I just take this whole section, I'm gonna cut that straight across. Now I'm working on a mannequin, so I can just stand right in front of them. If I'm working on a person, do not do this. If you're working on a person, you should take the person and ask them, don't take their head, ask them to turn to face towards you. This is going to prevent you from having to lean over them or possibly fall on top of them. None of those options are good. But for camera purposes, I'm just gonna stand right here. And I'm gonna cut a straight line. You can really just determine whatever length that you want. What I wanna do is I wanna cut to this line here. Okay, so that line is done. Then I'm gonna take my sides and I wanna get those connected as well. I'm gonna keep the line pretty straight and it's actually connecting pretty good to there. I'm gonna take a little corner right there. So I just wanna make sure that it connects with that piece that I cut. As long as it connects pretty good, I'm just going to take off that little corner. I think that's all that needs to come off there. There. Next thing I'm going to do is just do a little line on the side. So again, I just want to match up my length here. And I'm just going to kind of point cut into this. You can cut this blunt, you can point it. It kind of depends on the line that you want. Do you want something that's really blunt? Do you want something that's not? Totally up to you. Remember, while you're point cutting, always cut on the way out. So don't close your scissors as they're heading towards your finger. Close your scissors as they're coming away from your fingers, like this. So in the back, again, I just want to cut a square line. I'm just going to look at where that length is on the side and see exactly where I want it. Now my client might want it this length in the back, and then in that case, we're just going to trim it up a little bit. And I think that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to trim them up a little. But you can basically use the layers as your reference point. So you can say, I want to cut it to this layer. You can say, I want to cut it to this layer. It's a good way to keep yourself organized again. I tell people, don't worry about little corners in the perimeter. Usually they're going to disappear when you cut the perimeter anyway. And if you don't, then you can just go back and get them then. But don't get stuck on a corner. Keep moving, and we can always go back, and I'm going to show you in another video how to blend that out. So then I'm just going to take my sides and I'm just going to pull them forward again. Again, I just want to make sure I have a nice straight line going up and down. So I'm just going to get rid of that little corner there. Get rid of that corner.
If you'd like to level up your skills, it's never too late. I put together this playlist with the 4 foundational haircuts to help you out. Have a great hair day.